And for more now on the debate, Timothy J Lynch, professor in American politics at the University of Melbourne, joins us live. Professor, thanks for making the time to speak with us. Let's get your initial reaction to the debate. Do we have a winner?
Yes, I think Kamala Harris won it. She won it much more decisively, I think, than many people imagined. I don't think this guarantees that she'll win the general. In lots of ways, though, she corrected all sorts of misapprehensions, particularly on our own side, that if given free rein, she would just produce gaffe after gaffe. She was no gaffe machine this evening in Pennsylvania. She was actually very polished, and the cramming and the rehearsing, which we understand that she has done, paid off. I don't think Trump was crushed. And in lots of ways, I think Trump landed some blows, and Trump was Trump. So I don't think his position was reduced, but hers was certainly elevated by a much better performance than many imagined.
Professor, key issues for voters came up: abortion, democracy, the economy, immigration, and Israel and Gaza. Who do you think gave voters a better understanding on where they stand?
Well, I think Kamala's strength is that on issues like abortion, and abortion particularly, she really believes it. I mean, she believes in reproductive rights and a woman's right to choose, and had a capacity to articulate that as a consequence. Whereas Trump, I think, fundamentally is ambivalent about abortion. He's seen abortion as a strategic electoral issue, a way of winning support, and was less convincing, I think, simply because he didn't believe it. Whereas on immigration, she clearly has a record which needs, yes, some considerable defending, because it's such a poor record. And he was relentless in hammering home the consequences, some of which are real, some of which are imagined, of a porous border. So I think on issues where they felt intellectually most connected or philosophically most connected to, they were stronger. I think, though, that this didn't quite balance itself out. I think that Kamala was just stronger, particularly on issues, I think, where she's done some flip-flopping. I mean, one would have expected that on fracking she would have been vulnerable, but she actually found a way of construing that flip-flop as a defense of American national economic interest, that we can achieve economic energy independence through a reversion to fracking. So it wasn't an ideological conversion that she had to spin, but she was relating how power, the exercise of power, has changed her position. And Trump's rambling about solar power, I think, didn't really knock her off balance on that one.
You mentioned Ms. Harris flip-flopping her positions. She insisted during the debate that her values have not changed. How did she come across? Do you think she was able to demonstrate control?
Yes, I think her considerable achievement was to take decades of what's been a fairly leftish position on most things as an attorney general, senator, and vice president, and spin that as a move towards a kind of common sense center. And to do that, not seamlessly, but to do that in such a way to suggest to voters that she gets the realities of power. This has to be said against Trump, and Trump's great appeal across the last 10 years, if not across the last 40, is that you get what he is what he is. He doesn't need artifice or spinning or changing position. He's got fairly instinctive gut instincts about the way the world works and the way America should work, and he sticks to that. Whereas, he didn't have to succeed in quite the way Kamala Harris did, in shifting position. But I think the achievement for her was more considerable, because she actually had to find a way of changing some contradictions in her pre-campaign positions and the ones she's had to articulate now. So I think on balance, this is going to be spun particularly by a Harris-friendly media, and I think on balance, that ABC panel were broadly in support of her, it's certainly going to be spun as a resounding victory for her. But I just have some caveats that doesn't mean Trump will lose and that she will win. But it's not this performance, and this was the great fear of her campaign, was that this would actually ruin her chances. It's done the opposite. It's actually enhanced them.
So looking then at how both the candidates performed, do you think voters could be swayed?
Well, I think the game here, as it's been from the very beginning, is not to get your base to vote for you. I've certainly with him, and I think largely with her, the base of both candidates is fairly locked in. What this debate, and it could well be the only one, we'll see. This was about trying to convince those independents that will swing the decisive states one way or the other, that they were the kind of candidate that could espouse a kind of common sense centrist position. So that was the game both were playing. And I think Kamala played that marginally better than Trump did. Trump he wasn't at peak form. He looked tired, he looked irritable and grumpy. Well, she was effusive. I mean, she marched over to him to grab his hand at the beginning, which I think knocked him off balance. And he took a while to recover from that. So if she's selling optimism and a kind of the rosy uplands of progress to a wavering middle ground of voters, I think she did the better job of that than Trump did.
You say that she seems to have come out victorious from this debate. Polls ahead of the debate showed Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are close to tied in this final stretch for the race to the White House. Do you think this could change?
Well, there's still 56 days to go, and a lot can happen in politics, and especially a lot has happened and will happen in American politics in this current season. My suspicion is that this tied race is going to endure, and it's going to be nip and tuck right till the very end, and that both candidates, even if both, of course, and their teams will claim a victory, I think both in their heart of hearts know that this was a tie, which is illustrative of where the campaign is basically at, that neither candidate created a winning moment, or indeed, especially for Harris, a losing moment. So we're locked in for the next 6-7 weeks into a very, very close election where we can expect Kamala Harris to be let loose more, because clearly with proper preparation, she's actually substantial. She seems in charge of her facts and her positions, even ones where she's flip-flopped. Why not hear more from her? Whereas Trump, we know what he says about things. We know his style and his shtick. It can really only be to her advantage that she opens up more. She makes herself more susceptible to inquiry and exposure, because that's probably likely to bolster her chances. So if I had to choose which camp is happier, I think Harris's camp will be the happier this evening.
Thank you, Professor, for sharing your insights with us. We were speaking to Timothy J. Lynch, Professor in American Politics at the University of Melbourne.